When it comes to licensed video games, there's no company that's name comes to mind as much as Ubisoft, publisher of such instant classics as Go Sudoku on the PSP. It's hard to believe they actually got the rights to make a game based on such an iconic and beloved franchise. They also licensed some more obscure properties too, such as Hell's Kitchen, starring celebrity chef Gordon Ramsay. This game had two official websites, hellskitchenvideogame.com, which was managed by Ubisoft, and playhk.com, which was managed by Ludia, the company that actually developed the game. Ludia's website was the far superior option. It included instructions on how to play, and even had a spot where you could tell your friends about the game by putting in their email addresses. It also correctly listed the game as being available on the iOS App Store, Facebook, macOS, Windows, the Wii, and the Nintendo DS. Meanwhile, Ubisoft's website didn't mention the Facebook or mobile releases of the game anywhere, since they weren't involved with publishing those ones and only wanted you to play a version of the game that they'd make money off of. When the game was originally announced in 2007, it was planned to launch on all major gaming platforms, including Xbox 360, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and the PSP. But sadly, those versions of the game never came out, and it only ended up getting a physical release on 3 platforms. In order to incentivize players to pick up the game, a special edition of the Wii version was published exclusively at GameStop. This version came with a scratch and win sweepstakes, where you could win a $4,000 trip to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant at the London West Hollywood in Los Angeles, including $500 cash. I could use some cash right now. This one wasn't a winner. On the regular Wii version, there's a disclaimer on the back that says basic reading ability is required to fully enjoy this game. But for some reason, they removed this on the GameStop version. I guess if you're illiterate, this is the one you'll want to pick up. Now, let's get cooking and take a look at the actual game. It deviates quite a bit from the show it's based on. Instead of competing against other chefs, you get the kitchen all to yourself and have to keep up with the customers and prepare their orders. There are 2 different screens that you have to keep switching between, which are the kitchen and the dining area. In the dining area, you have to order around a waiter who will seat people, take their orders, and clear their tables. When he takes the dishes, he walks them over to the sink and then just phases them into a cabinet. The restaurant patrons become angry if you leave them alone for too long, and since you can only prepare one meal at a time, you have to strategically space out the orders so that no one gets upset. The way preparing the food works is fairly simple, but it takes a little bit of getting used to. There are multiple pots and trays needed to make every dish, and once you put all the required ingredients into one of them, it'll start cooking. Some of the pots take different amounts of time to finish, so you want to try and sync them up so that they'll all finish at the same time. Otherwise, the food will get too burned or too cold, and you'll get a lower score on it, or even have to throw it away.
That's absolute rubbish. Get it in the bin.
Each of the ingredients has a cooldown period in between every use, so for more complicated recipes, you have to plan out the order you'll use them in order to have them ready whenever you need them. Some of the recipes prepared for the customers seem a little bit questionable. For example, I imagine Mr. Ramsay would have something to say about cartons of milk that look like they're from a primary school being used in a 5-star gourmet restaurant's cooking. After every level, you unlock another authentic Chef Ramsay recipe, which you can use to make food in real life if you so choose. As the game progresses, the levels get harder, more ingredients, more complicated recipes, and more people dining at the restaurant simultaneously. But of course, we all know the real reason we're here, which is to get cussed out by Gordon Ramsay, who did indeed record voice lines for the game. In a press release, Ramsay was quoted as saying, "I had a great time doing the voice for my own animation. Being in a video game is a new experience for me, and I'm very pleased with the results." While you play, he's standing there staring at you the entire time, and he has an impatience meter that fills up if you aren't doing very well. The types of things he says depend on how full that bar is. If you're doing good, he'll say something like,
I like that. I quite like that.
but if you do worse, you'll be met with an, eh. You do get to see some of his trademark outbursts if you play badly, but only as much as a T rating will let you get away with, so unfortunately they're a bit watered down. Generally, he restrains himself to tamer criticisms, such as,
You donkey!
and,
I need you to really, seriously, up your game.
but there are some lines where he actually swears, albeit with censor bleeps. Some examples of this are his frequent reminders that
People are getting impatient.
his urges for you to
Move your...
and his occasional request.
Oh, me senseless.
If Gordon's anger meter reaches the top, you'll fail the level, and he'll yell at you.
Don't even touch another thing in this kitchen.
But if you manage to get all the way through the stage, he'll say something nicer.
I'm a very proud man.
Aw, thanks, Dad. That's pretty much it for most of the game's 28 levels in career mode, but there are a few of them that are slightly different. In some of them, you get a double-sized kitchen to work in and don't have to worry about managing the dining area. This same level format is also used in the game's arcade mode, where you just try to get a high score. and for the 2-player modes, both cooperative and competitive. And that more or less sums it up. Now let's compare that to the other versions of the game. The PC version is pretty much identical, albeit without the arcade or 2-player modes. It's a little bit easier to play since it's easier to move a computer mouse quickly and precisely than it is a Wii remote, but overall, not much new. The DS version is a little more interesting. Gameplay-wise, it's, again, almost identical to the Wii version, but a lot of the graphics were redone to fit the smaller screen. Now they look a lot more sprite-ish. Despite being redrawn, the waiter can still move through solid objects. Great to see that they kept the spirit of the original animations. Just like the PC version, the arcade and multiplayer modes aren't present on the game cartridge. However, there was a way to play multiplayer on the DS. You just had to buy it separately from the online shop in the form of the DSware game Hell's Kitchen Versus. Of course, the DSi shop shut down in 2017, so there's no way to get that version anymore. And, being an obscure title, there don't seem to be any videos of it uploaded to sites like YouTube. But luckily, for some reason, Nintendo's Dutch website still has a page up for this game, which includes a couple minutes of video previews. The game allowed you to play with a friend via wireless play, or alone by playing against the computer player. Apart from the graphics, it seems to be pretty much the same as the multiplayer competitive mode on the Wii.
Stop! Pathetic!
Now we're on to the Hell's Kitchen releases from Ludia that weren't published by Ubisoft. These versions of the game were only available digitally and are no longer online. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to track down copies of them to play myself, but I can still tell you what we know about them. First up is the version that was available on the iOS App Store, which according to a press release could be downloaded for $5.99. I was able to find a single video of this courtesy of iPhone App Daily on YouTube. Here we can see that it's more or less just the same as the Wii version, containing both the career and arcade gameplay modes. It also has a button added in the menu that would tell you about the developer's other games. The way these menus look in general has also been changed to fit the style of a mobile app. This port of Hell's Kitchen was removed from the App Store at some point, and it now gives you an error message if you try to follow a link to it. In its shadow, there is now a new Hell's Kitchen game called Hell's Kitchen Match and Design, which is basically just a Candy Crush clone. And it doesn't even have Gordon Ramsay, which kinda defeats the purpose. There are a couple of other Gordon Ramsay mobile games, but that's another story. Now onto the other lost port, the Facebook app version, which you could play in a regular web browser. This one isn't online anymore either, apparently having been taken down sometime between 2016 and 2019. Luckily, I was able to find a surviving gameplay video thanks to the Zerfardine on Vimeo. Here we can see that this version of the game wasn't quite the full experience that you got on the other platforms. It completely drops the level-based career mode gameplay, leaving you only the arcade mode. However, being an online game, it also took the opportunity to add a leaderboard where you could compare your score to the other players you knew. A pretty interesting adaptation. When this version of the game came out in 2009, one of the creators announced the release on Twitter and was met with criminally little applause. That's better. And now for the final piece of lost media I have for you today, the Uncensored version. During a limited 2-month period from June to July 2008, as a promotion for the finale of Hell's Kitchen Season 4, you had the option to buy an uncensored copy of the PC game on Ludia's website for just $19.99. But unfortunately, given how short the window was where you could buy this version, it doesn't seem like a lot of people actually got it, and I couldn't find any gameplay footage. But a couple of articles from the time say it existed, and there are a few old YouTube comments that back it up, so it's probably out there somewhere. It really doesn't make much sense to me why this game even had to be censored in the first place. I mean, what kind of parent's gonna buy a Gordon Ramsay game from their kid and hear, "F*** you," and think that's A-okay, but then they hear, "Fuck you," whoa, that's crossing the line.